You're watching CN2 News. Two Chester County principals wanted to make a difference during the pandemic. They started R.E.A.L.L LLC to help educators and parents during some tough times. They're focusing on literacy and leadership. CN2's R.E.A.L.L Jackson has more on how they're helping the community.
Create and Educate. We are a consulting firm that works with educators as well as entrepreneurs. So with the side where we're working with educators, we offer professional development on literacy as well as implicit bias. We work with leaders and leadership teams to help improve schools.
They've been surviving pandemic education by offering tips for school leaders, teachers, and parents.
We really want to see kids through the trajectory, graduating from high school, ready to go to college or to start a career or to go into the military.
R.E.A.L and Educate has multiple community partners in the area that read books to children weekly, discuss literature, and express their support for the education system. Recently, the owners were featured for Amazon's #1 best-selling book entitled Women Who Lead in Education.
And so we are super, super excited because we're amongst a family of women leaders who are absolutely extraordinary. So it's an honor to have been asked to participate. And then even more of an honor now that the book has gone on sale and it became a #1 bestseller. So you don't have to be a school leader to have leadership qualities.
Collectively, both Tammy Taylor, principal of Great Falls Elementary, and Dr. Sheka Houston, principal of Chester Middle School, have 40 years of service in education. They have learned the need in their community, and they plan to
serve all children in all communities. And one of the things that we enlighten people about in our professional development with literacy is that sometimes it's hard for children to connect to text because they don't see themselves in text. Providing that culturally relevant literature for students, and that's not just African American students, that's all students. Every student at every school should be able to see themselves in a book, in a text, to be able to connect with it.
Surviving pandemic education together in Chester, R.E.A.L Jackson, CN2 News.
Again,
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Tammy.
Hey, Sheka. Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Cindy.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning, Arcella.
Yes, thank you guys for being with us. Good morning, Arcella.
So we want to welcome you to the R.E.A.L Academy. I'm Dr. Sheka Houston and my partner, Tammy. We are bringing you information from our R.E.A.L Academy based on the framework we created through Create and Educate. The R.E.A.L acronym stands for Respect, Excellence, Accountability, Literacy, and Leadership. And so last week we talked about Tammy's article and forming support systems in education as it related to her article posted on the NWEA blog, To My Black Principal Sisters, How to Build a Genuine Sisterhood. So this week we wanted to focus that topic on forming support systems in education for our students. Good morning, Principal Baggage.
Good morning. Hey, Jasmine.
Good morning, Jasmine.
And it is our article because whatever I do is done in the sake of create and educating what we represent. So it's ours.
Well, it was a phenomenal article. If you haven't gotten a chance to read it yet, make sure you visit our website. It is posted at the top, the February 2022 NWEA blog. You can read it there. Good morning, Mr. Davis from Las Vegas. Thank you for joining us. So we're going to get started. And good morning, Principal Kafele.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Principal Kafele. Thank you. And thank you for the shout out. Sheka showed it to me. I appreciate you.
Yes, he also shared it on his page. So you can also see it there. And we're excited to hear Principal Kafele's topic this morning too, Leading While Black.
Yes, we're so excited. We're not going to be in the way. We're going to be on
Yeah,
as we start that this morning.
exactly. We can't wait to get on for that. Good morning, Mr. Horton. And also, good morning, Melinda. Thank you all for joining us. And AJ, thank you for joining us.
Oh, and we should just go on and shout out. Principal Hurt was not on this morning, but I think he said he'll be back on next Saturday. He is working this morning.
That's correct. He is traveling. I think he went to Chicago, and we are so very proud of him. His consultancy is taking off, and he is doing an excellent job. So we are
phenomenal. And guys, this morning after Principal Kafele, Sheka is going to be a speaker for a Black History program that we are so excited to hear her. And I'm sure she's amongst a very distinguished panel of folks who will be sharing with Dr. Larry White and the Signature Entrepreneurs Group. So we're looking forward to that this afternoon as well.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Tammy. Good morning, Sinitra, and good morning, Josh. And
yes,
Principal
good morning, guys.
Kafele said that Principal Hurt will be on tomorrow at 6.
Okay.
So tune in to his page tomorrow at 6. Thank you, Principal Kafele.
Yes.
Good morning, Aunt Virginia. Okay, so we better go ahead and get started, Tammy, because it's going to be time for us to get off.
Yes, we got to get out of here.
So relationships, when we're talking about support systems for students, definitely one of the things that has to be in place are those relationships, because it definitely, you can't have any learning cannot take place without that relationship being the foundation. And as leaders, we just want to make sure that when we say build relationships with students, that that's not just something that we're going around saying. We actually want to model that for our teachers by building relationships with them. They should see us building relationships with students. All of those things that we're expecting, your expectations should definitely be modeled. So there's lots of things you can do to help teachers and give them examples of this. One of the things is just something that we've all probably learned growing up. When you enter a room, you speak to people, and you'll be surprised how that doesn't happen sometimes in a school. So, saying hello, greeting the children, saying hello to them, saying goodbye. That creates that family feel when you're in a classroom, when students are just walking in, and sometimes when you're trying to get procedures established, and you may hear teachers say things like, well, don't talk for, this amount of minutes, or, you can still have procedures in place, but you as the teacher in the classroom and as the principal of the building should be greeting people as they enter and as they leave.
Exactly. The other thing, and we're going to talk about some things that help us to build those relationships. Like Sheka said, we were talking together, and just like Sheka said, James Comer tells us that no significant learning can occur in the absence of that significant relationship. So be sure that as leaders, we're encouraging our teachers to listen, and to listen intently to what the students are having to say. Again, that happens through us modeling and hearing from them, and understanding, being empathetic, being graceful, because when you show grace to them, that's the perfect way for you to model that grace is expected to be extended to the students as well. And the bottom line is something that we believe and is the primary aspect of our framework, and that is respect. You have to demonstrate the respect that you have for these students. And you, again, can model that by showing the students respect and letting the teachers see that you respect the students and where they're coming from, and extending that to your teachers and staff as well.
That is so true, Tammy. And, sometimes you have to have those crucial conversations. I remember having a few of those conversations with people because I just feel like it doesn't take anything to say hello, good morning. That, if they were in a bad mood, sometimes you would speak to them and they wouldn't say anything. And, we just can't do business that way. We can't do business that way as adults. And as the leader of the building, I can't allow you to do business this way with any of the children that come into the school or the parents. So
or your colleagues.
Exactly. We did have to have some crucial conversations about, some things happen to everybody at home or wherever, but we still have to operate a certain way.
Yep. And the other thing, Sheka, that I think that's worth us going on and mentioning, because we were talking about, because it's very important that we're mindful of where the kids are coming from, and we're graceful and we're respectful and all of those things. But at the same time, we still have to maintain high expectations, and we have to make sure that teachers know that we're not saying that actions don't warrant some level of consequence or some action in return. There's an equal or opposite reaction for every action. So we just want to make sure we're very clear that we're not saying that we don't think that there should be boundaries, because there should be. And honestly, there has to be.
Exactly. The next thing that could help with making sure those true support systems are in place is something that really is just probably has a new name, like we always do in education, but MTSS, that multi-tiered system of supports, which is something that is a part of my job function. If you have those things in place for students, then that is a great way to make sure that you're meeting the needs of all of your students and none of them are really getting lost in the shuffle. That RTI component means that you're addressing their academic needs and gaps and making sure those are being filled. That social and emotional learning piece is being addressed when you're looking at the MTSS system, and you have positive behavior systems in place as well. So MTSS is a great way to make sure that all of those things are in place for your entire student body and people aren't falling through the cracks.
Exactly. And if you don't have a PBIS system or some variant of that in your school, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, because we can provide you with some support resources and connect you with people who are doing some really good work in that area. Because as Sheka said, those supports are very important for making sure that academic needs get met. But honestly, we do have to pay attention to the needs of the students and all those needs, including their physiological needs and emotional needs and those things that make them who they are, sometimes before we can even get to the academics.
Definitely. And the next thing, Jasmine mentioned in the comments that you have to know where the children are coming from. And I think that is very important. Some time ago, before COVID, one of the things we would always do at the start of the year was to take a tour of where the students were coming from as far as the neighborhoods were concerned, because a lot of the teachers that work in our area are not from the area. So just being familiar with where the students are coming from, and also making sure that you have trauma-informed practices in place for your staff members. The ACEs study is one that I'm just really think is a great study, and a part of making sure that your trauma-informed training has the ACEs study information in it. It was just so eye-opening to understand a lot of things that happen with children, and then that better helps you to serve them and meet their needs, because you know that these things could potentially have happened if this is not something that was a part of your background. But that study revealed that with the beginning of the study, that 1 in 5 people that were a part of that study were sexually abused. 13% experienced domestic violence, 27% were in homes where there was substance abuse, and then 28% had physical abuse. And students that scored 4 or above, because the number could go up to 10, were more, 4 or more had 32 times more likelihood of having behavior issues. They were also more likely to smoke, drink alcohol, be subject to depression, teen pregnancy, and then also those health related issues. So just making sure that teachers are also very well informed about trauma, how to recognize it, what to do if you do recognize it, how to address it, is very important as well, because that means that you're really truly understanding where your children are coming from and how to really help them. Because if you can't address certain things and learning with all of these other things being a part of what's happening to a child at that time.
Exactly. And we saw you. Good morning, Principal Klingman. We
Yeah.
are so just very right now attuned into what's going on with our children, because they're experiencing different types of trauma.
Mhm.
And as Sheka said, those things that kids are faced with and have been faced with for generations are still a very real reality. However, what we know is today you have a whole other layer of trauma that kids are experiencing that just right now is based on our current situations and things that are happening around us. And we're talking about children as small as preschool. I have a little one, and I shared this with Sheka last week, who has lost both her parents within the year. And she's 6 years old. So there is that need for being able to respond to the trauma that our children are experiencing. And that only adds to, as Sheka said, what allows us to establish and form those relationships with the children and their families in our classrooms.
Definitely. And AJ will definitely reach out to you about PBIS. And Principal Kleeman is correct. Children right now are experiencing things that we probably have not experienced as adults. So it's a lot. It's a lot for an adult to digest. So just having to fathom a mind as young as someone that's 6 or 7 years old, having to process losing both of your parents. I mean, that's just unimaginable. And then Ms. Harris has mentioned about the foster population increasing. All of those things are very traumatic for children.
Absolutely. And that is such the statistics on that right now, they are startling. And I mean, they're studying to see exactly what's going on, but so many children are now becoming a part of that foster system. And again, those things that are adverse experiences for children are traumatizing.
It is. And we see a lot of evidence in that as children transition in and out of the school through the foster care system. A lot of times they're very transient, where they're going, to different homes. So, just having to get used to one school, and then now you're being moved to a whole nother environment. All of that is, really impedes your learning, because you haven't even processed what has really happened to you, as far as your family unit being broken down. So the next thing that we're coming to is grief sensitive schools. And I was really happy to see that New York Life does partnerships with schools. My school actually won a $500 grant from them to become a grief sensitive school. And they sponsor the training for your staff members, and they also have a partnership with First Books, where they actually mail us books to be able to do support circles, grief support circles with students that our counselors could sponsor. Because, like you said, Tammy, there's been a lot of loss, and grief is something that, as an adult at 43, when I lost my dad, or 42 actually, grief is a very real thing to have to be able to process, and it's a lot to process as an adult. So for children, you really have to work with them on making sure that you're helping them get through those feelings and letting them know what to do with those feelings.
Exactly. And some of those books are really good for, as you said, creating that space to present in a grief group, where they help them to deal with the anger that comes with, and is a natural part of grief, but that comes with not understanding or not necessarily being able to process exactly what all has just happened in my life. But they also give you opportunities for other things. And that was the one thing that I thought was really, really good about that whole grief sensitivity. They recommend camps for children, services that can be beneficial.
Yes, and the camp was, I thought, was really great, because it helped the children form their own support system, and they're able to connect with other children their ages, that are going through something similar. So there are some resources in place, and we'll put that information about partnering with New York Life if you would like to become a grief sensitive school. This comment that Principal Klingman put up about the teachers explaining how a child was online trying to, the teacher was trying to teach, but the child was taking care of a baby, and she was in 5th grade. So, a lot of our children are going through things. Our parents are going through things, because I can't imagine what the parent had to have been experiencing to have to be able to leave a baby with a 5th grader. That is just, very heart-wrenching. So, a lot of our children, our families, they are just in a lot of need for support and resources. So a lot of times the school is that hub for resources and supports that they may not be familiar with how to obtain, or familiar with how to even support their children with those resources.
And that's so true, Principal Klingman. It is really startling for us to think about the number of times that actually happens. When we were virtual, I'd have teachers who would reach out and say, we're trying, but and these were usually in small groups, but one of the kids in particular would have to go and quieten the baby, or go and stop the toddler from doing something that was dangerous, while parents were not there. They had to work. So
Exactly.
it's a very, very different time that many of our children are facing.
And, and that's why those relationships are important, because when you know your students, you can recognize when something's off, when something's wrong, when, something's going on, and you can try to find out what that is to try to best support them the best possible way you can. And as leaders, that's something that we have to be able to recognize too, that when that's happening in a classroom with teachers, that we're not so, concerned about, oh, well, where's your targets for today? Sometimes things are off the script because we're not operating by the normal script anymore. We're still in the middle of a pandemic, so we all have to
completely off script.
Yes, we all have to operate from that premise. Yes. And our last one is making sure that you're communicating with parents regularly. I saw something posted where a teacher had sent something to the parents where they could send something in, not really letting them know everything that might be happening or divulging everything, all of their personal information, but just a little note to say, hey, something might be off with Susan or Karen or Lizzie or Bella today, and not really having to feel like you're having to be completely vulnerable about everything, but that the teacher would understand that. And I thought that was powerful, to be able to have parents to be able to feel like, hey, I know something's going on. I really don't want to talk about it. My child may not want to talk about it, but just know, we're experiencing some things. And so that you can be sensitive to that, as well as let some of the other teachers or whoever's coming in contact with that child know that. I think it was called Handle with Care. That's what it was, Handle with Care today. So there's so many things that can be done. Our students do need lots of support right now. Our teachers need lots of support. Leaders need support. We're just still in a trying time, and we really have to take care of one another. But putting real support systems in place is something that's essential for our students to be able to thrive and get through everything.
Yes, and we, as Sheka said, are just here to hopefully make this a little easier for you guys by providing you with the support that can help you to support your staff and your students and your parents during these difficult times. If you need us, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I know that someone, Sheka, mentioned wants to talk about PBIS. Please just connect with us and we can talk with you about getting you some of the resources or support that you might need. Guys, we're getting out of here because we cannot wait for Principal Kafele's session that we know will be absolutely on fire today. So don't forget to join Sheka. We're looking forward to her. I was so excited this morning when she told me she's going to be a part of the Black History program for the Signature Entrepreneurs. So if you can, make sure you listen in so that you can hear the wisdom that I'm sure she's going to be spewing as well. Thank you guys so much. And we look forward to being back with you next week.
Yes, thank you, Tammy. Thank you, guys. Join us on Principal Kafele's page. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Rest of your Saturday.